Good morning, Year 8. It's Mrs. Reed here, and welcome to your final lesson this week of English. So we're going to start with a retrieval task. Make sure, please, you have a pen or pencil, so something to write with. You may also wish to have a ruler to hand for underlining your date and title, as well as a different colour pen, perhaps, for marking and self-correcting. Make sure you have everything you need to hand and that you are distraction-free before you start. And we'll be starting out with a retrieval quiz. So I would like to know, number 1, can you name one significant writer of the 19th century? Number 2, can you tell me what that writer revealed to us about the world that he lived in through his writing? Number 3, we talked already about the idea of the human condition and the fact that writers offer us insight into the human condition. So I'd like you to put in your own words, really, what you think that means. And finally, what was the Industrial Revolution? Again, in your own words, how would you explain what that term means to someone else? Pause the video and complete those 4 questions now, please. Okay, well done. So, well done if you managed to get something for all 4. If you didn't, please don't worry. We're going to go through the answers now. So having a different colour pen to add to your notes at this stage would be really useful. Okay, so number 1, the writer then that I was referring to here, the one that we should all know as a famous writer in the 19th century, was Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens, we know, not only presented the social inequality of Victorian Britain, but he advocated for a fairer society. So he may be presented to us the cruel treatment of orphans and children in the Victorian society. He would have exposed the reality and the cruelty of the workhouse and really advocated for social justice and fairness. When we talked about the human condition and how writers might give us an insight into that through their texts, we're really talking about the characteristics of human existence, what it means to be human. So some of the things we might experience, as well as our emotions and conflicts. And number 4, the Industrial Revolution really refers to the transition and the changes to manufacturing processes in Europe. The Industrial Revolution is about the way in which we change systems from older agriculture and farming into the manufacture of new goods and materials through factories, and the changes in technology and advancement that went along with that. Okay, let's quickly recap the ideas we've looked at this week then. So we've talked about the 19th century as a time of great change. We know that there was lots of progress and excitement with lots of new invention. But also that led to concern for some people. So the poor lived in extreme poverty and desperation. And this was also in conflict and contrast to the lifestyles of the middle and the upper classes. And we know that such poverty and desperation meant that many people turned to crime. Okay, so before we introduce our next text and writer, I would like you to undertake a short creative writing task. So whilst walking on the moors, you have spotted a very suspicious looking character. It turns out that this person has escaped from the prison in Princetown. In a moment, I'm going to share with you a picture of this convict. So your job is going to be to describe the convict in as much detail as possible in order to help the police catch this criminal. Do you think you're up for the challenge? Okay. So, we've got 60 seconds to view this character. And what I want you to do is to use your viewing time to describe them. So start now. Let's start by writing down 5 nouns that will refer to the character's most distinguished features. So I've started with eyes, for example. Can you write down 4 more? And next, I want you to now add to your nouns to create some noun phrases, please. So now you want to add in some adjectives to describe and some adverbs as well, to build up some noun phrases. So you can see that my description of eyes has now become 2 extremely sinister eyes. So spend the next few seconds adding to your list to make noun phrases, please. Okay, keep going. You've got a little bit more time. No pause in the video here. Okay, time's nearly up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the picture of your criminal has now gone, but I want you to further plan before you write this up. So choose at least one of your noun phrases to expand further. This time, try adding to it a prepositional phrase. So a prepositional phrase will tell us where something is. You can see in my example, I've used the phrase under his overgrown eyebrows to extend and expand my sentence. So mine now says that under his overgrown eyebrows sat 2 extremely sinister eyes. Have a go at developing at least one, you can do more if you wish, at least one of your noun phrases. Expand it now. And next up then, I want you then to choose at least one that you're going to expand with a relative clause. So this is going to come after your noun phrase and using a word such as that, or which, who. So under his overgrown eyebrows sat 2 extremely sinister eyes, which stared with an intense darkness. Okay, over to you. Add in some prepositional phrases and a relative clause. Good. Okay, now you have got a plan for writing. I want you to spend no more than 10 minutes writing a description of your criminal. You're going to turn your notes into a paragraph and describe this person in as much detail as possible. Start with this sentence. When walking on the moors, I was most shocked to see. Pause the video and complete your writing task now. Remember to allow no more than 10 minutes. Okay, well done. I hope you enjoyed that creative writing task. I always find it in the classroom, it's a bit fun and it gets you really thinking about the amount of detail you need to put in to really clearly convey the image of a character to your reader. And what we're thinking about here is really how writers create characters and use characterization in order to convey ideas to their reader. So we're going to be asking the question really, what does Stevenson, our next author, reveal to us about human nature? So the first thing we need to do then is look at the difference between character and characterization. So we need to get a definition for each of these. So when we're talking about character, we're talking about the person that's in the play or the book or the poem. But when we're talking about characterization, we mean the way in which this character has been shaped and created by the writer for the narrative. So it's the way in which the writer might use this character, as well as lots of other literary devices, to facilitate the exploration of themes and ideas. So the characterization of them is about the way in which they speak and they move, they behave, the things that they do and say, what they wear. All of these smaller details are going to help to convey to us big ideas and meanings. Pause the video and just write a short definition of the difference between character and characterization. Okay, so really here we've started to look at a very famous novel, and that is The Strange Case, I think it's actually a Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, written by Robert Louis Stevenson. I want you just to think for a moment, have you come across this novel before? Or ever heard the phrase of somebody being like Jekyll and Hyde? So if you think back to our escaped prisoner, the one you were describing, in reality, this was a picture from a very interesting character from that 19th century novel, and his name was Mr. Hyde. So he features in The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it's a story about a London lawyer named Gabriel Utterson, who investigates some strange occurrences between his old friend, Dr. Henry Jekyll, and this strange and almost evil character of Edward Hyde. Through these characters, Stevenson explores the way in which good and evil might work together, so the interplay between good and evil, and he explores this through the split personality of one character. So Dr. Jekyll is what we would say is a really respectable gentleman, almost a scientist. He confesses to some indiscretions in his youth, and he becomes fascinated with the duality of human nature, this belief that everybody has a good and a bad side. So Dr. Jekyll creates a potion, and the potion is to release the evil within a person. However, his own evil side took the form of Mr. Hyde and commits many evil crimes. Eventually, Dr. Jekyll lost control of his evil counterpart and struggles to change back to his good self. So, I said previously that Victorian writers really explored the ideas and the concept of what evil means in their writing. So Mr. Hyde in the story is a manifestation of the evil that Stevenson, the writer, suggests lurks within humanity. So this leads us then to one key concept, and that is the idea of an illusion. You might have already heard this term when particularly we were studying Greek mythology, for example. We talked about the ways in which an allusion, a reference to another text might be made. When we say that somebody is like Jekyll and Hyde, we are making an allusion to the story that we've just looked at. So I want you to explore what you think that might mean. Let's look at an example. Sometimes my dog can be really friendly with everyone and want to play. Other times he growls and snaps at anyone that comes near him. He is a real Jekyll and Hyde. What do you think this allusion to Jekyll and Hyde suggests about the dog? Can you complete the sentence in your own words? So pause the video and complete the sentence now. Okay, so you might have said something like that this allusion suggests that this dog has two sides to its personality, but it perhaps has a kind of a split personality, that sometimes it can be good and friendly, but other times it can change its behaviour completely and behave in a more aggressive or evil kind of a manner. So this idea that it switches between two very different sides of itself seem to be what is conveyed in this Jekyll and Hyde metaphor. This idea of being switching between your good and bad side, and how also those two things might be combined in the one creature, in this dog. Okay. So it suggests the dog has two sides to its character, and we call this a duality. Let's finish this lesson then with an exploration of that term. So copy the definition into your books. Duality refers to the state or quality of being in two. So having two parts, a dichotomy. So there is the belief that there are two parts to humanity, good and bad, evil. You can see from the icon here, there's a kind of a way of that idea of a person being kind of split into two parts. So once you've written down your word definition and drawn an icon to go alongside it, I want you to think, can you think of any other examples of dualities? Okay, complete this task, and then when you're done, send a copy of your excellent work today, please, over to your teachers. Have a really lovely week, guys. Bye.